pretty loud out here. Well, welcome back, everyone. Number one, I'm going to go down and take a look at the Mueller report this afternoon. With regard to the floor, as you may have noticed, we are processing a lot of nominations that should have been approved on a voice vote, but nevertheless, we are working our way through the week. We'll probably end up doing 8, both executive branch and judicial appointments during the course of the week, and then take up the Yemen override before the week is out. Having just gotten back from a couple of weeks at home, I thought it was interesting that I didn't get a single question about the Mueller report. Most Americans think it's over, time to move on, and we covered a whole variety of different things that Americans are concerned about, and a lot of enthusiasm about the economy, the low unemployment. It was actually quite a 2-week tour around Kentucky, and we were also talking about a number of agricultural issues that are important to us, including industrial hemp, now legal, and lots of farmers signing up to do that.
Well, as the leader pointed out, one of the things that people, I think back in the States, are talking about is the economy. And they're excited about what's happening with our economy. And of course, we argue about a lot of things around here on a daily and a weekly basis, but one thing that we can all agree on is that the economic report that came out last Friday was extraordinarily good. 3.2% growth in the first quarter, dramatically exceeded expectations, and coupled with 13 months in a row now where the unemployment rate has been below 4%, and 8 months in a row now where wages have increased at above 3%. 3.2 million jobs created since tax reform passed, 5.5 million created since President Trump took office. These are really good economic numbers. And contrast that with what the Democrats are talking about, which is government-run health care, government takeover of health care, Green New Deal that would dramatically increase energy costs for people in this country and impose enormous mandates and requirements on those that are providing that energy, and just a general policy of growing government, raising taxes, and undoing and reversing all the economic gain and benefit that we've seen from these pro-growth policies that we put in place for the last couple of years. So we want to continue to work on pro-growth policies that are good for the economy, good for growth, and we would hope that the Democrats would join us in doing that.
We have a strong, healthy, and growing economy, 3.2% the last quarter. The numbers are out, are remarkably good, and you know why it's there. It's because of the tax cuts that we've been able to do, as well as the regulatory relief for families and for businesses all around the country. Earlier today, the President met with Democrat leaders at the White House to talk about infrastructure. There's work we need to do on our roads and our bridges, and as chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee, I am committed to continue to do that. The committee has been working on that in a bipartisan way. We have done it last year with the Water Infrastructure Act. We are prepared to do it again. We've had the hearings. We're going to continue to work forward in that way. We also want to make it easier to get work done in terms of permits, to allow us to work faster, better, cheaper, smarter. And as a member of committee where we have rural as well as urban members, it's important to remember that one size doesn't fit all. We need to work on urban projects and rural projects and do it in a way that is fiscally responsible. For folks who may want to raise income taxes to do it, I think that is the wrong way to approach it, and that is something that I think would hurt our strong, healthy, and growing economy.
One thing I continue to see about this economy is what a great economy it is to go to work in. People at work today are more of the sense that they're likely to get a promotion at work than to lose their job at work. People are going to work that have been fired in that same job or by that same company before. People out of jail or out of prison that have a skill set going to work in ways that they haven't before. And something I haven't seen before in the mismatch of jobs available and skills that people have is people willing to hire people now that they believe can be made to be ready for the job. I'm hearing more and more about incumbent workforce training, about going ahead and hiring somebody that's not ready for that job yet on the basis that you can help that person get ready for that job. In our state, we're also talking about ways in Missouri to look at how we can get people to work in our state that have already been at work somewhere else, particularly as it relates to military spouses. We had the first military spouse sworn in to the Missouri bar in January who went immediately to work as a lawyer, who had been a lawyer in another state. We haven't done that kind of thing in the past, but looking at people who've got skills, veterans particularly, if you've been driving a truck in the military, you ought to be able to get that commercial driver's license pretty quickly. If you've been an electrician or a medical technician, this is an economy where people are looking at ways to get people to work and to honor the skills that they bring with them, as well as to help them get the skills that they don't already have. We're seeing that. People are optimistic about that, and they should be.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to turn the spotlight to a couple of issues that are really important to folks across the Midwest right now, and those are the issues of trade and the tariffs. 1 in 5 jobs in Iowa is tied directly to trade. So this is an area that our manufacturers, our farmers, and our ranchers are very, very interested in. But right now, the tariffs that we have on those products are overwhelming, and it is hurting our farm and agricultural income. So I continue to visit with the president about these issues and encouraging him not only to get the trade deals done as soon as possible, in particular USMCA, and long-term China, we need those done, but also to remove those tariffs so that we can move forward. Particularly harmful is the Section 232 tariffs on steel and aluminum. Our manufacturers are having a very hard time with that right now. A little bit from an ag perspective as well. When I was crossing the state, I was visiting with many young farmers, and one young couple in particular, they're so proud to be family farmers. They have a hog operation, but what they have been forced to do is take off-farm employment, non-agricultural employment because of the tariff issue right now. A lot of these young farmers, young families are really, really struggling. So we want to make sure that we're seeing resolution there. But we really need to put some pressure on the Democrats as well. They need to be willing to come to the table, sit down, and work through these trade issues. So I am hoping that Speaker Pelosi will bring the USMCA up as soon as she can and make sure she's getting that through the House and sent over here to the Senate so that we can get our work done as well. But again, it's imperative that we continue working on these trade deals to make it better for our farmers, our ranchers, and of course our manufacturers as well. Thank you.
Well, Indiana has lost 2 political giants this year. First, it was Birch Bayh, and I look forward to flying back to Indianapolis this evening and joining the Bayh family for the Birch Bayh Memorial Ceremony. He was a modern-day founding father, having been responsible for the passage of not 1 but 2 constitutional amendments, to say nothing about the rest of his legislative record, which was highly impressive. And then over the weekend, as everyone knows, we had the passing of Richard G. Lugar. Chairman Lugar hired me. He took a chance on a young Marine Corps captain back in the early 2000s who wanted to get a little taste of Capitol Hill and learn how things work up here. And along the way, I did learn some things. But perhaps as much as anything else, I learned about public leadership. I learned that it's possible to be true to one's temperament, to be a quiet, dignified statesman who shows comity to those on the other side of the aisle and still get a whole lot done in the process. To me, that's what Dick Lugar represented. We are incredibly proud of him, and prayers and blessings to the Lugar family as they deal with his loss.
Nancy.
Do administration officials have an obligation to comply with congressional subpoenas?
Well, I think it depends on what the courts say. My assumption is that it's pretty obvious the administration's view is they've finished this, no collusion. And the president has indicated he thinks a do-over is not something he's interested in cooperating in. So my assumption is all of these issues are going to end up in the courts.
So congressional subpoenas are optional?
It looks like it's going to end up in court. We'll see how it's all worked out. A better way, obviously, would for both sides to talk to each other and see if there's some way out of this impasse.
Several of your Republican colleagues who are women have raised concern about Stephen Moore's writings. Do you think the administration and the president should reconsider his nomination to serve on the Fed?
Well, we're happy to receive nominations when we get them. There are a lot of people being considered for all kinds of positions that are not yet nominated. And if he is nominated, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
The Senate passed a $2 trillion bill that was voted at the White House today.
Well, you'll have to, my roommate was in the meeting. I've not been able to speak with her about it yet, but I'm sure there are plenty of reports out about the meeting, and you'll have to ask the participants. I don't believe any Republican senators were there. Yeah.
One of the ideas Senator Schumer has pitched is reopening the 2017 tax law to help finance that $2 trillion proposal. Is that a non-starter for Senator
Yeah, that's a
Republicans?
non-starter. This tax bill is what's generated this robust economy. The last thing we want to do is step on all of this growth by stepping back and repealing, in effect, what has generated all of this prosperity and low unemployment.
Leader McConnell, to follow up on Nancy's question, if the Trump administration is not complying with congressional subpoenas as a part of their investigations, what kind of precedent does that set for future presidents who just don't want to comply with future investigations by future Congresses?
Well, you know, every administration since I've been around has been in disputes with Congress over power, disputes between Article 1 and Article 2. It always happens over one thing or another, and we'll see how it all sorts out. Thank you.